How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're here to talk about what is perhaps the most depraved and perverse film that I've seen hit the mainstream in quite some time. I'm not talking about some cult horror movie that gained popularity with mainstream audiences, something like Human Centipede or even a Serbian film, though what we're here to talk about is pretty horrific and disgusting. This is actually a follow-up to a video that I did a few weeks back when I covered some of Netflix's newest bowel movements that they're trying to pass off as entertainment. In that video, I covered a show called Super Drags. Super Drags is an adult cartoon show that's about men dressing up in women's clothing and fighting crime. And while I find that premise to be stupid and yet another shallow attempt at progressives normalizing such behavior, it's nowhere near as repugnant as the film Cuties. Cuties is a French film that's all about a group of 11-year-old girls twerking. Yes, you heard that correctly. 11-year-old girls booty dancing as they wear skimpy, skin-tight clothing. And guess what? That's not even the worst of it. The trailer couldn't prepare anybody for what we were going to be getting in the final cut of the film, and let me tell you, it's more disgusting than we could have possibly imagined. This, of course, didn't deter the media and the blue checkmarks on Twitter, and even some YouTubers, from defending this obscene filth. Join me in today's video where we're going to be talking about the shocking amount of graphic and hyper-sexualized footage shot for this pedo-normalizing dumpster fire of a film. Not only that, but we're going to be taking a look at some of the people who are defending Cuties, further proving that their insanity and their depravity truly knows no bounds. Before we really dive into this, I want to say that this video is going to be on the longer side, and it's full of incredibly sensitive subject matter. Yes, this is an unironic trigger warning, God help me, but this is important, and I highly encourage everybody to stick around until the end of the video. While writing out my thoughts about this film and going through the absurd amounts of asinine takes I've seen regarding Cuties, I kept asking myself the same question. Why do I even have to make this video? Why does anybody have to make a video explaining why pedophilia is unacceptable? There used to be a time where the issue of pedophilia wasn't a political one. Decent people from both sides of the political spectrum could come together and agree that pedophiles should be put feet first through a wood chipper. But now, you have the mainstream news outlets like The New Yorker, who tweets out shit like this. Cuties, which has angered scandal mongers on the right, is the story of a girl's outrage at and defiance of a patriarchal order. Why does this have to be political? I'll tell you why, because these morally misguided taint suckers are claiming that the alt-right is attacking the film because the director of Cuties happens to be a black Muslim woman, and I hate to break it to you, but people are upset with this film because she made pedobait. I've talked with liberals, not leftists, but classical liberals, you know, the ones that have a moral compass and a grip on reality, who are livid that this film exists, but you have these ultra-woke, regressive leftists who want to normalize pedophilia. If saying fuck pedophiles makes me a bigot, well guess what, I'll put that shit like a feather in my cap. Call me Yankee Doodle Dandy, ya cunts. The media is desperate to make this film appear like it's just a harmless little foreign film about young girls dancing. Clearly, evil right-wingers must be out to oppress these poor girls, right?
Do you understand that? Serious crap.
That big media narrative is such clear bullshit that Helen Keller could see through it. I mean, just take a look at some of these articles being written about Cuties. The Telegraph writes, Cuties, Netflix review, a provocative powder keg for an age terrified of child sexuality. Child sexuality? The words child and sexuality don't belong in the same sentence. These are 11-year-olds, nowhere near ready to be sexually active, yet in this film, you have them wearing clothes that are fitting for prostitutes while they shake their asses. It's disgusting. How about this one from the Rolling Stones? Thanks to a major marketing mistake, the award-winning French movie Cuties was accused of sexualizing young girls. It's actually a sensitive portrait of growing pains that deserves to be seen. Ah, yes, one of my favorite arguments for this movie. It's the marketing to blame. It's all Netflix's fault. This is a point that I addressed in my first video about Cuties, so I'm not gonna go insanely deep into this point, but what I will do is show you the poster and compare it to a scene in the film. This is the poster that had everyone rightfully furious that Netflix would support this on their platform. The Rolling Stones and blue check marks on Twitter clearly want to use this excuse that it's all Netflix's marketing, that Netflix's marketing is inaccurate and not representative of the film. Except it is. It's exactly what's in the film. So really, these people are upset that Netflix was so honest in the marketing. Netflix was actually giving us a heads up that this movie is pedo porn. This is a still from one of the many dance scenes in the movie. This is what Netflix used in the poster, and it's straight from the movie. The only way in which this poster is not representative of the film is that the poster is actually far more tame than the film is. This dance scene has the girls bending over and shaking their asses at a massive crowd of people with these incredibly long, zoomed-in shots on their butts. The dance moves have the girls sitting down and spreading their legs wide. It's fucking disgusting. They filmed this. This film somehow got greenlit, which leads us to some more of the disturbing scenes that are in this movie. And I've seen a lot of shit during my time on the internet, but seeing this blatant child abuse and sexualization of minors hitting the mainstream is shocking to say the least. I'm not going to be showing clips from this movie in this video though, and that's for a few reasons. I can understand the argument that some people are making for showing these clips because they want to shock you. It's pretty unbelievable. I couldn't believe that this was real. But my stance on this is that the movie claims to be against sexualizing children, all the while having them half-naked grinding on each other. So if I'm going to speak out against it, I'm sure as hell not going to be showing that filth myself. You can find the clips online easily. Anna, that Star Wars girl, she has a thread over on Twitter, as well as a video that she did on her channel. I'll link her channel as well as that Twitter thread down in the description below. Now, believe it or not, that big dance scene that's featured on the poster, that's not the worst thing in the movie. Not by a long shot, in fact. Let's go over a few other scenes from the film. There's a scene where the main child, Ami, steals a man's phone. When the man confronts her, she tries to convince him to let her keep the phone. How does she try to convince him? By unbuttoning her shorts and pulling them down. Because that makes total sense. That's totally not just an excuse to show her midriff and her panties, right? Remember, this film wasn't made for pedos. The man pushes her against a door and yells at her, and it's at this point that Ami grabs the man's phone and then runs into the bathroom. Then she takes off her shorts and her underwear, and then she takes a picture of her private parts, and then she posts that picture on the movie's version of Instagram. Pretty bad, right? Well, it gets worse. A popular defense of this movie is that it's actually showing how bad sexualizing children is, yet it does everything in its power to counteract that supposed goal by turning these poor 11-year-old children into nothing more than strippers for men to ogle. This next scene doesn't just shatter that bullshit narrative from Cuties defenders, it obliterates it. The group of children sneak into this club and they're stopped by a security guard. The security guard grabs one of the girls by the arm and they all start screaming at him, calling him a pervert and a pedophile, probably exactly what was being said to the director while filming. Then walks in Tom Cruise straight off the set from Tropic Thunder and he asks his partner what's going on. At this moment, one of the girls gets a text letting them know that they got into the dance finals for the big competition, and they all start screeching like Zubats and the guard tells them to shut up. The girls explain that they're dancers, and to prove this, Ami begins to twerk for the two men. There are uncomfortably long shots focusing in on her midriff and her butt as she twerks near these two adult men. There's also these long shots where Ami and the security guard are making extended eye contact as she moves her hips suggestively towards him. I have no idea how this shit makes it into a film. A film that's on Netflix, ready to be streamed by anybody, including children. How anybody can watch these scenes and not feel repulsed and disgusted is absolutely beyond me. What's even worse though is that there are people that support this degeneracy. People like Vito and Mr. Girl, along with a plethora of blue checkmarks on Twitter. That's right folks, Diet Movie Bob himself seemingly supports Cuties, and he wants you to know that he also supports his fellow degenerate content creators like Mr. Girl.
They're pretty hot. And you know, you can say whatever you want about me, it's not my fault. I didn't make them do that, they did that.
Vito has made it very clear that a degenerate cunt like Mr. Girl is worth supporting, and he doesn't care who knows it. Until he does care. And he changes his tune pretty quickly. I want to be very clear before going into this for legal reasons. What I'm expressing is my opinion. I'm not accusing anybody of any crimes. I'm expressing my anger and frustration with the low-life filth that would support Cuties, as well as talk about children in the way Mr. Girl does. Let me set the stage a bit for you here, viewer. A small YouTuber by the name Mr. Girl released a 24-minute long review of Cuties, where he had some incredibly divisive takes to say the least.
How do we, children are horny. Little girls are horny and they want to express that.
This all started when Vito began to get called out by people on Twitter for showing his support for Mr. Girl's video. Vito took it as far to say that people criticizing Mr. Girl's sick and misguided review of low-grade pedoporn are just cowards, and we don't understand the nuances of the film. Oh, right, of course, because there's totally nuance when you're talking about a movie that has 11-year-old girls in hooker clothing twerking in front of groups of men on multiple occasions. Vito, being Vito, began to delete certain tweets where he called out other YouTubers like My Nerdy Home, and then Vito began to backpedal. This is where Jay Longbone enters the scene and Vito completely implodes. Vito's reasoning for supporting Mr. Girl, aka Max, is because Mr. Girl was there for Vito when his father died. And let me just say, I can empathize with the death of a loved one, but your friend acts like a fucking pedophile, so I can't really relate to the low bar that you clearly have for the people that you call friends, Vito. Vito goes on to say that Mr. Girl doesn't want to touch your kids, which,
they're pretty hot.
I can't really say that I believe you, Vito. So when Vito was asked if Mr. Girl was joking, he said he thinks so, but he's not too sure. Well, don't worry, Vito, because Mr. Girl went on the kill stream to defend his moronic position.
I think it's some kind of a gray area, but I think a lot of the disturbed reaction to this is that people are not comfortable with being turned on by kids. I think that is part of why people are freaked out. I think it's.
I was not turned on. By the way, I was not turned on by the kids.
I think that
0.000%.
I think your average man, faced with this question, let's say you had a robot that looked exactly like one of these kids, okay, and it's going to give you a lap dance.
No,
hang on.
Don't.
If you don't get a boner, you get $1 million. But if you do, you die. You're saying you would take that bet? I don't think so. I think most people wouldn't, because on some level, they're kind of attractive.
No,
It's
Wait.
disturbing.
Okay, this took a hard left. What the hell?
You don't want it to be true, but
Wait.
it is.
No, it's not. Wait, so you're saying that you were attracted to those young girls in Cuties?
On some level.
What?
I mean,
okay, whoa.
Wait.
Kyler car crash sound effect.
Wait, go ahead.
Now, I want to push back on the idea that that's pedophilia, though.
Yeah, because we're seeing that in the chat, obviously. And,
the girls. Well, no, I don't see. I just know that's what they're saying.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
The girls are dressing like they're older, right? That's the whole point of the movie. Is they're acting like they're teenagers. They're acting like they're adults. They're emulating 18-year-olds, basically. They're wearing makeup. They look older than they are. And I think when you respond sexually to that, as you're watching it, I'm a little.
Big difference, though.
Vito does have the self-awareness enough to understand that standing up for somebody saying pedophilic shit isn't the best look for you. So Vito says in a tweet, "I also know it makes me look bad to stand by him, but he did right by me in a time of need, and that means more to me than my image. Friends over optics. You can now resume calling me a secret pedo." Your words, not mine, Vito. Vito's just so righteous. What a good guy, standing up for his weird pedo pal. Great hill to die on. Or is it? You see, Vito eventually realized that this really wasn't the best idea for him, so he frantically began to rescind his statements, albeit in a very half-assed way. Vito goes for the classic, "I'm bipolar, so I defend pedophilic stances." Vito in another tweet says, "Well, I'm sketchy because I'm a bipolar maniac who forgets to take his meds sometimes and posts a lot of crazy shit he shouldn't. I'm working on that. Work harder on it, Vito. Work harder. Good God, I hate it when people use their fucking illnesses as an excuse. Guess what, Vito? I have a family member with pretty severe bipolar disorder, and I cannot recall a single goddamn time where the guy defended some dipshit who said that young girls are meant to be sexy. Maybe Vito just has some new form of bipolar disorder that I just don't know about. That could be the case, right? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that his, bipolar disorder makes him defend weird, creepy pedophiles. Vito would eventually wrap up this self-destructive thread by distancing himself from his original stance defending Mr. Girl by saying, "I'm not trying to defend him right now. I'm telling you the reason I tried to back him up in the first place. It was a stupid and impulsive decision." So yeah, that was pretty rough, right? Not as much as Mr. Girl's video, which we're going to see some clips from that video now. I'm going to be linking his entire video down in the description below, and I would recommend checking it out for yourself. That way you can get the full context and really judge it as the whole review. And again, for legal reasons, what I'm about to say is my opinion.
Right off the bat, just first impressions regarding the controversy. This film does try to make you sexually aroused by 11-year-olds. And I'll say it's not bad at it. It's not a total failure in that regard, at least for me.
First off, I have to just point out, I love the privacy shade that you have going on over there with your monitor. Are you worried that somebody's going to see through your window and notice that you're watching children twerking? Never in my life have I ever seen somebody so quick to jump on the chance to out themselves as a pedophile. So weird to see. And I think you can already kind of get an idea as to why people jumped all over Vito for being a fucking retard and defending this degenerate.
And it's real. It's very realistic. I don't know if you've ever heard of the app TikTok. There's some pretty interesting stuff on there that I've checked out, and I recommend you check it out. Girls of all ages are dancing like, and guys are dancing like this.
So watching children be made to twerk and grope each other in a movie wasn't enough for you? You had to take that growing fetish of yours into the real world and hit up TikTok? This really isn't boding too well for your future, Mr. Girl. What's worse is that he actively encourages others to go onto TikTok, which, I mean, that's bad enough as it is because of their ties to China, but he actively encourages others to go and watch children sexualize themselves, all for the sake of getting a few social media followers. There's a word for this, and it's called grooming. And for this sack of shit to be advocating for it is disgusting.
They're pretty hot. And you know, you can say whatever you want about me. It's not my fault. I didn't make them do that. They did that. That's the point. That's the whole point of the movie. Is that you're supposed to be sitting there thinking, look at the blonde one. You're supposed to be sitting there holding these two thoughts in your head, and one that these are kids, and the other that they're hot. And I don't even know if you're supposed to be comfortable with that.
How is it even a question if you're supposed to be uncomfortable with that or not? If you're comfortable with it, that makes you a pedophile, and judging by your reaction to the girls in the movie, I would say that your foot is certainly more in the diddler camp than the sane functioning member of society one, Mr. Girl.
She is called a slut because she posts a picture of her vagina on Instagram, which I had this like kind of defensive reaction as I was saying this, like whoever you are watching this, you're going to be like, well, of course she did, but like, why? Posting a picture, I've posted pictures of my dick all over the place. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a slut, and if I did, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I guess at 11 it has more of a negative connotation to it.
Really? You can't see why being a slut is a bad thing? You can't see why 11-year-old children posting pictures of their private parts online is a bad thing? I'm sorry, but you need to be institutionalized. When people like me call out this film and people defending it and we call them pedo-normalizers, it's because of this. This is exactly what we're talking about. People like Mr. Girl here who can't seem to understand why this would be a bad thing, because people like him post nude pictures all the time. What's the big deal? Because there's totally no difference between an adult posting pictures online when they know full well the ramifications of doing so, and a child. Like, they don't see the difference. A child who cannot possibly grasp the reality of the situation. That's something that can damage them for the rest of their lives. It opens up so many horrifying paths to grooming and possible child trafficking. Imagine a child starts posting provocative pictures online and it catches the attention of some sick fuck, and that person convinces them to meet up somewhere. So now you have this child meeting up with this internet stranger, and then poof, they're gone. That's it. Kidnapped, gone forever. This is the danger of films like Cuties. This is the danger that people like Mr. Girl present to society with their disgusting attempts at normalizing the sexualization of our children. I'm fucking done talking about this video. Check it out for yourselves. Links in the description below. Now, Mr. Girl isn't the only one defending Cuties. Shocking that there's other mentally ill people on the internet, right? And would you be surprised if I told you that the people supporting this movie are all ultra woke progressives? I guess we can view this from a somewhat positive angle because all of the pedos and the pedo sympathizers are just outing themselves. But what's odd is that they're proud to support this pedo bait, and some of the arguments that I see are the most ludicrous things ever. I mean, seriously, when I see some of these arguments, I feel my IQ plummet. One of my favorite arguments that I've seen used multiple times by different people is that the people who are criticizing this film are the people that haven't seen it. They say that you're just an alt-right bigot because you don't want to watch children dressed in booty shorts and crop tops expressing their sexuality as 11-year-old children. How close-minded of us, right? I don't need to see a movie in which children are being exploited to know that children being exploited is a bad thing. You know that old saying, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a pedo-normalizing film. It's an excuse that the film can have in its back pocket to shield itself from criticism, and it's complete bullshit. Speaking of shields made out of cardboard, let's take a look at one of my favorite tweets from the loons defending this movie. This user tweets out in regards to the big twerking dance scene, "Y'all, LMAO, this scene is taken totally out of context. This film, made by a woman of color, is the climax moment. The whole film is about how society, y'all, sexualize girls at such a young age and the damage it does. This is an important film." Okay, look here, you silly bitch. How is this scene taken out of context? The children are in these exact outfits as shown in the poster. They're on a stage dancing like strippers. They're shaking their asses, bending over, spreading their legs and touching their private parts in front of a crowd of people. Is that the context you're talking about? Because that's the only context, you idiot. Children were made to do these things, made to act in such a disgusting and disturbing way for a film that, in Mr. Girl's own words,
if you are concerned about people treating this as child pornography, there are probably thousands of people masturbating to this film as we speak.
But if you really want to make the argument that this movie is actually against this kind of behavior, how about we bring up something like, I don't know, animal abuse? I'm gonna make a movie about how bad it is to abuse kittens. So tell me, how many kittens do I need to beat, drown, burn, and disfigure to show you how bad animal abuse is? Do you see how fucking retarded you sound? You don't get to say that this movie is not glorifying this sort of behavior as you make children do the things that they do in this movie. The film would have you believe that children are celebrating their sexuality. It's a rebellion from the evil conservative parents who don't want them being groomed. My favorite part of this tweet, though, is how they randomly throw out that the movie was directed by a woman of color, as if that has any bearing on the situation. Unless, of course, you're saying that black Muslim women, they just support children being exploited in films, which, if that's the case, I'd say you're a little racist. I want to be crystal clear with my position when it comes to this paper-thin defense for Cuties. I don't give a shit if this movie's made by a half-white, half-black, trans, polyfluid, non-gender conforming, demisexual, non-human identifying deer, you stupid cunt, it's still wrong. You even have big Hollywood stars defending this movie. I can't really say that I'm that shocked because we all know Hollywood's track record with child abuse and sexual assault. Tessa Thompson had this to say when it comes to Cuties. Disappointed to see how it was positioned in terms of marketing. I understand the response of everybody, but it doesn't speak to the film that I saw. What film did you see, Tessa? Did you not see the film where an 11-year-old girl was posting nude pictures of herself online? Did you not see the film where they take a picture of a child's penis? Did you not see the film where 11-year-old girls are grinding on each other and humping the ground in front of men and crowds of people? I would really love to hear what you saw. Might I suggest you get your eyes checked, you goofy twat? This has to be the most disturbing thing that I've seen in years, and it's all made worse by those who support it. The YouTubers, the celebrities, the media. It's sickening. If you look at the criticisms of this film and you see it coming from a place of conservative politics and not from a place of moral decency, then you are mentally deficient and you have some serious issues that you need to work out before you harm a child through action or through influence. What the release of Cuties has shown me is just how far that we've let our culture slip into depravity and how low our standards for what's acceptable have become, and I have to be honest with you all. It's fucking frightening. Thankfully, there are just as many, if not more, great people out there fighting back against this cultural degradation. We've already seen government officials calling for investigations into Netflix for giving a platform to this film. Don't allow yourselves to be gaslit into believing that this film is against sexualizing children. It is undeniable that this film exists to give pedophiles something to watch, as well as attempt to normalize sexualizing children under the guise of progressivism and fighting the very thing that it is so guilty of doing. And that does it for today's video. Thank God we're done talking about this. Or are we? What am I talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. I started a podcast, and the first episode is going to be live this Wednesday. That's September 16th at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The podcast is called MGM Prime. That's Metal Gear Mando podcast right in my ear. And I'm very thankful to have an awesome guest joining me for the first ever episode. And that guest is Lady Gravemaster, who's an awesome YouTuber. Check her out on YouTube. Also follow her on Twitter at Lady Gravemaster. We're going to be doing a live response to Mr. Girl's video, his review of Cuties, and then that's it. I hope we can bury this and never have to talk about this goddamn movie again. As always, I want to know what you think about all of this. I know I gave you a ton to think about in this video. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, drop a like, and if you really want to support this channel, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell icon to get notified of all of my future videos, because YouTube does not notify my subscribers because they hate me. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Metal Gear Mando. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.